One. Today we're talking about two-step equations, so how many steps? So two-step equations are separated around the equal sign just the same way one-step equations are. There's a left side and a right side. Equations are solved when the variable is isolated on one side of the equation. That's the word that we learned yesterday, is the isolated, meaning by itself. Inverse or opposite operations are used to isolate the variable to one side. So inverse operations. And the correct solution will make the statement or the equation true when you substitute it back in. That was our check section. So if you're wondering what this is, this was the check section. Jordan, make sure you're marking this stuff, baby.
I'll have a highlight.
Baby, you can underline it. Underlining is the same as highlighting, just without the color. That's it. So, looking at this, it says, when solving equations, our goal is to isolate the variable. So if you weren't here yesterday, this is a recall section, so it's going to recall what we did yesterday. That way you're not lost, okay? Inverse operations. What's the inverse operation to addition? Subtraction. And for subtraction? Addition, adding. For multiplication, it's division. And for division, it's we need to remind ourselves what we do on one side of the equation, we must do to the other side. This is a common mistake that happens because we often mess up the inverse operation, but then we forget we must carry it, we must move it, we must use it on both sides. So this is recalling one-step equations from yesterday. So I have x plus 3 equals 11. What operation is happening to x? Addition. So what's the inverse of addition? So what am I adding right now? What am I adding?
X plus 3.
So what's being added to x?
3.
So how do I get rid of this addition of 3?
Multiple.
What's the inverse operation of addition? Let me finish the question. Right? What's the inverse operation of addition? So if I'm adding 3, how do I get rid of addition of 3? Subtracting what? 3. Thank you. What's being brought down? X. What happens to my 3's? They cancel out. What's brought down behind it? And then what am I typing in? So type in 11 minus 3. Give people time to type. I'll tell you when.
11 minus 3, I got 9.
Probably not. Type it in. Check it. What'd y'all get?
8.
It should be 8. Any questions there? For B, I have x minus 9 equals 23. What operation is happening here? Subtraction by what?
9.
So how do I get rid of subtraction by 9? Adding 9, making a positive 9 on both sides. I agree. So what's being brought down? What happens to my 9's? What comes down behind that? What's being typed in? So type in 23 plus 9. Give people time. I'll tell you when. What'd y'all get?
32.
Everybody get 32? Anyone get something different? So everybody got 32? Jordan, you get 32?
Yeah.
Okay. Great job. Any questions on the addition and subtraction cases? All right, I have 2x equals 18. What operation's happening here? Multiplication by what?
2.
So how do I get, you said it too. That's correct. So how do I get rid of multiplication by 2? Dividing by what? 2. Absolutely. So what happens to these 2's? So what's brought down? Behind that? What's being typed in? 18 divided by 2. Don't say it out loud. Give people time. You are doing a great job about that. So what did y'all get? Any questions on this one? Okay, looking at D, I have x over 5 equals 10. What operation is happening originally? Division. So division by what? So how do I get rid of division by 5? Multiply by 5 or times by 5. I heard people say it. So what happens to these 5s? So what's brought down? Behind that? What's typed in? Type in 10 times 5. What'd y'all get? We get 50. Any questions on these 4 examples? Everybody good? Okay. So, that's just the recall from yesterday. Stevan, you good? True, you good? Okay. So, it says, what if there is more than one equation? We do the order of operations backwards. Meaning, if there's more than one operation happening. Remember, the order of operations, we say it's GMDOS right here. Where G stands for what? Grouping. E stands for? Not equation. G is for grouping. E is? Exponents. M is? Multiplication. D is? Division or dividing. A is? Addition. S is? Subtraction. So we have grouping, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. Everybody with me? That's the recall. That's what we need to know. So, parentheses is not the only group. It's also absolute value bars, brackets, and fractions. Those also work as grouping symbols. So, backwards, it would be subtraction and addition first. So, this would be done first. Then, division and multiplication. Any kind of exponent. And then any kind of group. It's done backwards when you're solving because we're undoing what we just did. So, it said solve each equation for x. So if I'm looking at this, we have 3x minus 2 equals 13. We end up having to add by 2 on both sides. That's a line because that's a step. We add by 2 because addition and subtraction have to be done first to move the constant from one side to the other. So these would cross out. 3x would be brought down. Is everyone still following? Make sure you're making these marks with me. That way you're following along with what I'm doing. 3x comes down. The equal side comes down. What's being typed in? What's 13 plus 2? 15. That's where it came from. Any questions? From there, what's happening between 3 and x? Multiplication. What's the opposite of multiplication? Division. So I have to divide this side by what? Which means I also have to divide this side by what? These 3's do what? Leaving x, right? Equals. And what's being typed in? Which is? And what do they want me to do with this 5? Check it. So anywhere I see an x, I put what? So, if we were to type in 3 times 5 minus 2, that would get us 15 minus 2, which is 13. Does 13 equal 13? Then that's a true statement. Any questions there? Everybody good? Do we need to rewrite out this acronym to the side here, or are we good? Would it help if I wrote out what each thing meant to the side? Okay, just making sure before we move. So, looking at this first example, we have 5x plus 4 equals 19. 5x plus 4 equals 19. So, they told us that we have to move what first? The constant or the coefficient? The constant. Which one is the constant in this case? 4. 4 is doing what? So what's the opposite of adding? So I need to do what with 4 on both sides? Subtract it. So what's coming down? 5x. What happens to those 4's? What's being brought down behind that? Equals. And then what am I typing in? So type in 19 minus 4. Give people time. I'll tell you when. Make sure you're working alongside of us, okay? Make sure you're typing in when we're typing in, holding yourself accountable. What did y'all get?
15.
Everyone get 15? What do I do from there?
Y'all can get a X by itself.
Get the x by itself because it's not by itself yet, right? So, what's happening to x now?
You got to divide it.
We have to divide it because what's happening to begin with? Multiplication by what number? So what do I divide by? On. Thank you. Great job. What happens to these 5s? So what's being brought down? Behind that? What's being typed in? 15 divided by 5. It's okay. 15 divided by 5. That way we know that operation is true. Make sure you're typing it in along with us. Make sure you're typing in along with us. This is practice for you. What y'all end up getting?
3.
So, they want us to check this. So, what would I plug in this 3 in for? So, I would have 5, parentheses, 3, plus 4 equals 19. So, the 19 should not change. In your calculator, type in 5 times 3 plus 4, exactly as you see it. So, type this piece in. Don't say anything out loud. Just type this piece in. So 5, parentheses 3, close parentheses, plus 4. What'd y'all get?
19.
Does 19 equal 19? So, is 3 the right answer?
Yes.
Any questions there? Everybody still with me? Okay. Let's look at C. I have 3x minus 16 equals 2. They told me to move which one first, the constant or the coefficient? The constant. So which one's the constant? Negative 16. So if I covered this up, what's happening to the 16? It's a what? A negative, so what operation's happening? Initially. If it's a negative 16, what operation's happening? Subtraction. What's the opposite of subtraction? Addition. So how do I get rid of this negative 16? On. Perfect. So what's being brought down? 3x. What happens to these 16s? They cancel out. What comes down behind that? And what's being typed in? Absolutely. So type in 2 plus 16. What'd y'all get?
18.
Absolutely. What do I do from here? Divide, because what's happening between 3 and x? Multiplication. So the inverse is division. So what am I dividing by? 3. On. Perfect. What happens to these 3's? So what's brought down? Behind that? And what's being typed in? Absolutely, guys. Can we have more participation? Because I can just stop what I'm doing. Because who needs the lesson? Who? So who needs to be giving me energy? So, Mr. Man trying to work ahead. Add to the class. If you can you can hear. You heard me. Add to the class, because isn't participation a grade? Those who are participating, I hear you, I appreciate you, I see you. But those who aren't, it's just showing me and Miss Davis that you aren't confident in the material. So which means help yourself. Okay? Don't waste your time in class. So, focusing up. What's being typed in? Better. So, type that in, please. What'd y'all get?
6.
Great job. How would I rewrite this to check it?
Replace x with 6.
So what would come first?
3.
Them?
Parentheses.
Oh, perfect. What's going to be typed in?
3 times 6.
Minus 16, right? So typing that in exactly as you see it. What'd y'all end up getting? It should be 2. Does 2 equal 2? Yes, because that should give you 18 minus 16, which is 2. 2 equals 2. Is 6 the right answer? Yes. Any questions there? Now, looking at this one, I'm going to explain this one out. So focus up here, focus up here. Kingston, up here, baby. Focus. Thank you. If you would prefer to step out, you can, and you can do this by yourself. Okay, then let the teacher do the teacher's job. So, looking up here, I have 10 equals x over 2 plus 3. The same rules still apply. Moving the constant first is the most appropriate move in this case. So, if I were to move the constant, I would have to do what to the 3? Subtract it, and that's where they're showing right here. So what happens to these 3's? We have to type in 10 minus 3, which gets us 7, equals x over 2. Now, what's happening on this side? Division by what? 2. So, how do I get rid of or eliminate this division by 2? Times it by 2 on both sides. So what happens to those 2's? They cancel out. 2 times 7 is what's left on this side. So we have 14 equals x. Any questions there? To check, what am I plugging in for x? So I would have to do 10 equals 14 divided by 2 plus 3. What's 14 divided by 2? What's 7 plus 3? 10. Does 10 equal 10? That's what makes that a true statement. This is what you're going to have to be able to do. Again, me and Ms. Davis aren't answering, is this the right answer? Because can you check it? So me and her are both going to do this. We're going to say, you didn't check it. You're going away. Bye. And that's because you need to have autonomy and responsibility for how you're learning and how you're perceiving the information. Me and her know how to do it. And we can tell you yes or no easily, but that's not what we're here to do. We're here to hold you accountable. So if we're looking at letter E, have that one in the back of your mind. Reference this one to help you with this one. I have x over 3 plus 8 equals 15. What is my constant? 8. Is it positive or negative? So how do I get rid of a positive 8? Subtract it, make it a negative 8 on both sides. So what's brought down? X divided by 3. What happens to those 8's? They cancel out. What's brought down behind that? And then what am I typing in? 15 minus 8. So get that typed in for me. 15 minus 8. What'd y'all end up getting? Thank you. What's left on this side? X divided by 3. So how do you get eliminating by division by 3? On both sides. So what happens to these 3's? So what's left? X behind that equals, and what am I typing in? 7 times 3. Aaliyah, make sure you're typing in along with this, baby, okay? What'd y'all get? 21. So do y'all agree with Jordan? There you go. How would I rewrite this to check it? What was, I'm sorry? You can say over, that works too. What's 21 divided by 3? 7. What's 7 plus 8? 15. Does 15 equal 15? So, is 21 the right answer? Thank you. Now, we've done a lot of these together. I want you to walk me through F. So, what am I doing here? I have x over 5 minus 6 equals 4.
So your addition.
Addition of what?
Addition of
Addition of what, Jordan? Follow through.
I said 6.
There you go. But say it with your chest. Why are you mumbling? You got to be confident.
The 6 plus 12.
Yep.
And you add 6 plus 12.
Oh.
We better X over 5.
Thank you. We're trying to keep habits going so we don't forget things. Mm-hmm.
6 plus 4.
6 plus 4 or 4 plus 6.
No.
Not
I
quite.
meant 10.
Did y'all get the same thing? Then?
Do 5 times, that's the X times 7, 5 times 5.
Not 5 times 5, but 5 being multiplied on both sides.
So that's the 5 times 10. We bring up the X.
So 5 times 10, give people time to type it in. What'd y'all get?
50.
How do I check it?
50 over 5 6 equals 4.
What do I need to do first? Which is? And then? Which is? Does 4 equal 4? So is 50 the right answer? Any questions? Any at all? Okay. So do me a favor. These don't have numbers on them. I want you to do this one. So this first block. And then when you flip it, this one right here.
Which one's that?
Wait, do y'all not have this one? Hang on. It's this one at the bottom. Oh, so there should be another page. So this one, and the one that says 3p minus 2 equals negative 30. Do those two, bring them to me. So, getting into it, looking at the bottom, let me refocus this real fast. We have r over 10 plus 4 equals 5. What do I need to do here?
You need to drop the 10 down. Drop the 10 down.
I mean operation-wise. Subtract 4. We can drop things down after we have our operation that we're doing. So, what's being brought down? Over 10. What happens to the 4s? What's brought down behind that? And then, what's 5 minus 4? What do I do from here? Times 10 on both sides. What happens to these 10s? So that leaves me with? Equals, what's 1 times 10? So to check this, how would I rewrite it?
Plus 5.
Plus 4 equals 5.
Yeah.
What's 10 divided by 10?
1.
What's 1 plus 4?
5.
Does 5 equal 5?
Yes.
Any questions? Looking at our second one. I have 3p minus 2 equals negative 30. What's the first thing I need to do? Plus 2 on both sides. So, what's being brought down? 3p. What happens to my 2's? What goes down behind that? What's negative 30 plus 2? Negative 28. What do I need to do from there? Divide by what? 3. What happens to those 3's? So what's being brought down? P equals. Should I type this into the calculator?
Yes.
Does that simplify?
Yes.
Into what? But math won't enter because are we doing decimals? Absolutely not. So type that in, please. Negative 28 divided by 3. Does that simplify? Into what, Kingston?
Negative 9.
It's supposed to be a fraction. Did it give you a different fraction or the exact same one back? So did it simplify? No. This should have been your answer.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands.
I got that.
One nation.
I circled it if I saw it.
Indivisible.
Rewriting this,
And justice for all. You may be seated.
this becomes a negative 28 minus 2,
Since I actually don't have any
negative 30 equals negative
messages
30.
to give you this morning, so as always, make it a great day. The choice is yours.
Because what will these 3's do to each other? And that's where the negative 28 came from. It pays to know the work because now you understand how mental math works when I'm not using a calculator. Just a second, baby, I see your hand. So, you know what to do? Work on your practices. Get them turned in. Do not wait. Most of you have enough time in your day. Not even most of you. All of you have more than enough time in your day.
Oh, not me.
So, yes, you do.
I'm a busy person.
You're not. No, you're not booked and busy. You come in here and still don't do the work when you have the class time. If you can prove me wrong, I'll see it. You know better. Turning in your work as you finish. Do not wait until Friday. Have no business doing that.